Okay, so this is a very weird one. I'm not actually sure whether you guys actually like this game or this video or not. And I'm going to go into details as to why that's all about. And I'd actually like you to leave a comment in the video description. You can start typing right now. Do feel free to do that as to your thoughts, your initial thoughts on what you're seeing on the screen right here, to be precise. So the game is called Wildgate, and I released a video on this last week, or this week actually, around about Wednesday. And it performed very, very poorly. And this does happen sometimes with YouTube videos. It doesn't send, the algorithm doesn't send out notifications, and it doesn't send out recommendations to anyone, and the video just stalls almost instantly. I've had this in the past, and it's a very well documented feature, something I've discussed with YouTube themselves. And whilst YouTube don't really go into details onto why this happens, they are willing to acknowledge that it does happen. And I've seen other YouTubers discuss this as well. You've probably heard the same. Now, pretty often I'm simply content to just leave that video alone and let it run its course, even if it just means a few hundred views for whatever reason. But in this case, I'd really like to know what's going on. Is it down to the fact that YouTube is just messing around, or is there something deeper going on here? Is it that you really don't like what you're seeing? So in this video, we're going to talk about two different games. We're going to talk about Wildgate, which you're looking at right here. The other one, which I'll talk about very briefly at the end, is called Lonestar. Two very different games. So from this point on, I'm going to start discussing those games, but don't forget, whilst I'm discussing that, do let me know your thoughts about all of this, both the aspect with YouTube as well as the game itself, what you're seeing on the screen, in the comments section below. Just, go ahead and let me know what's going on, because without your help here, I'm kind of stuck, not really knowing what to make of what happened with that original video, why it kind of, missed the mark. Now, Wildgate is from a new studio, a new publisher that was founded or co-founded by the ex-CEO of Blizzard, Mike Morhaime. So that's the publisher, which is called Dreamhaven, and the game itself is developed by Moonshot Games. And it's, how do we put it? It certainly has spaceships in it, as you can see right here. Very much a big focus are those spaceships, in fact, but it also has a heavy FPS component as well. Essentially, players act as prospectors, and you'll find yourself forming crews of 4 players in order to hunt down strange and powerful artifacts. And here, you'll face off against rival crews, and this is all set in a PvPvE environment. Now, I've seen a lot of people compare Wildgate to a Sea of Thieves. I can't say that for sure myself because I haven't played Wildgate just yet, but I can certainly see the similarities. And I've also seen people compare this to another upcoming space game, which is Jumpship. And yeah, Jumpship I actually played earlier on in the year and had a lot of fun with that one. And we'll talk about both those games as we go through the video. As you can see from the footage then, this is very much about spaceship interiors. Players will find themselves on board the ships doing a whole variety of different activities, and for those people who feel that ship interiors can't possibly offer any fun activities or any interesting activities, I think they're somewhat limited in their imagination, because we've got a whole load of games really showing how this can be done, and these can go from really action-packed games with some somewhat cartoonish graphics to some extremely in-depth technical games with a lot of focus on sim-type elements. When it comes to Wildgate though, what we find here is that the game is going to pit 5 crews, that's 20 players in total, against each other on procedurally generated maps, and the objective is to secure the artifact, and then, not only secure it, but also escape with it and eliminate your rivals. To do this, you're going to need to pilot a ship, which can be customizable. Also, you need to engage in ship-to-ship combat, and there's also boarding actions as well, which is where the FPS section comes in. Now, I know many of those of you who are watching this video are probably going to be somewhat torn on how you feel about this. There's going to be people who are certainly interested in trying a game out like this, and there's going to be others who are almost instantly going to be turned off by the graphical style. I'm sure of that without any doubt. But that's less a reflection on the game, more a reflection on the fact that many of the viewers of this channel tend to focus on sim-style games. And seriously, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It just goes to show the sheer diversity we're seeing nowadays in the genre of space games. They're ranging, they're sort of covering all sorts of different activities and playstyles, aren't they? So, the developers have set this game in what they're calling the Typhoon or Typhon Reach, and they've likened that to a cosmic Bermuda Triangle. Within this, massive areas in which you play these maps, which are procedurally generated, and they're filled with interstellar clouds, hazards, as well as rival ships. The primary goal is to locate and secure the artifact, as we've mentioned, which is an ancient relic of immense value, a MacGuffin if you will. As you can probably tell from the footage, there is a massive focus on combat that seems to be pretty much the main drive of the game. In fact, combat is dual-layered, ship-to-ship battles, which can feature some high-tech cannons, gadgets, and traps, whilst on foot FPS action allows boarding enemy vessels for zero-G shootouts. Players can also deploy probes to scout for rivals, loot, or the artifact itself, and if a player dies, they respawn on their own ship, but if the ship is destroyed, the crew is eliminated. Apparently, matches can last anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes. The game also has a progression focus, which means unlocking new starting weapons, gadgets, and prospective characters through the experience you gain along the way. There's also different ways to interact with the ship. This can be putting out fires, conducting repairs, or simply manning the variety of different turrets. And turrets you can obtain during gameplay. These can be sniper-focused turrets or, heavy fire turrets. You'll also notice that you can get out into space in zero-G, leave your own ship, head across the gulfs of space, the gaps in between, and board the enemy ship. Ultimately then, this is very much a game about working together in cooperation. And this brings us on to one of the things most people, perhaps a lot of people, are going to like. It's certainly an idea I like. There are no rigid roles. In other words, you work together cooperatively with your team, taking on the role that's best suited to the moment. And this is exactly the same thing I said about Jump Ship when I played that game and made the video on that. Do check out the links in the video description if you want to take a look at that video. There is quite a lot of overlap, it seems, between the two games. They share ultimately the same sort of design goals, perhaps the same sort of gameplay ideas and concepts. Unfortunately though, I haven't played both, so I can't make a direct one-to-one comparison, but based upon the gameplay I have seen of Wildgate and the hands-on experience I've had with Jump Ship, it seems to me that Jump Ship is a game that is more grounded. And again, I say this without actually hands-on with Wildgate, so this is subject to change of course. So in terms of gameplay and mechanics, we got Wildgate, which combines crew-based FPS action with tactical ship combat in a high-energy environment. It is dual-layered combat, like we said, with ship-to-ship battles and on-foot actions, but Jump Ship, on the other hand, focuses on realistic team coordination and ship management. It seems to me that Wildgate really does emphasise strategic cooperation in a somewhat more abstract sense, where the environment's really built around a mix of PvE encounters. Jump Ship, on the other hand, centres on a laser-focused approach to teamwork, where every player's actions are interlinked with a realistic ship operation. Jump Ship has a very heavy interplay between repairing, piloting and combat, and this is all often performed in a physically interactive way. For example, the idea of repairing and upgrading your ship can be a part of moving chips on a circuit board, and this really does enhance the immersive and grounded feel of Jump Ship. It really does feel like you're actually in there working with real ships. So if what I'm saying there is correct, you can probably tell that the approach to these two games, which have massive overlap, is quite different. They're quite distinct from each other. And it seems quite likely that this separation, this distinction, might extend into just about every aspect of the respective games. Kind of crazy really, because you wait forever for games like this and then 2 or 3 come along all at once. Let's not forget Void Crew, which also shares some similarities with these other 2 titles. It's going to be a while before everyone really gets hands-on with both of these. Wildgate, I don't believe, has a release date just yet. Although that said, it is scheduled for a playtest, which is coming up very soon. Scheduled, I do believe, between the 10th and 14th of April. If you're interested in trying this out, you can sign up through the link in the video description, which I'll make sure to include there. If I forget, it's actually at playwildgate.com. Head on over there and you can sign up to try out the upcoming playtest. The game, they say, is slated for release in 2025 and should be available on Steam, PlayStation 5 as well as the Xbox. Moving on, I want to very briefly talk about another game, and this one's completely different to what we've discussed so far. It's called Lonestar. Now this has been in early access for a while, but it's actually getting a full release, and the full release is 3rd of April, so that's tomorrow from the point this video actually releases. Now Lonestar is a turn-based game. It's a space duel, it's a roguelike, it's a deck builder, and it's set in a sci-fi universe. The game is deceptively simplistic, both in terms of its visuals as well as its gameplay. I say deceptively because whilst it looks very simple on the surface, there is a lot of replayability in here, as well as a lot of depth if you really want to deep dive into the overall concept. Basically, at its core, Lonestar features spaceship battles where the combat is resolved on a grid, and that represents your vessel. Each battle is a duel between your ship and an enemy ship, with both sides allocating energy resources to various units, and these units, arranged on a fixed 3x3 grid, function similarly to a deck of cards in traditional deck building games. The energy resources come in 3 colours, white, blue and orange, each with unique properties regarding where they can be allocated. White energy is the most restrictive, blue energy is moderately flexible, and orange energy can be used in any slot. The allocation of these coloured energy resources determines the damage output of an attack. Now, the strategic depth of Lonestar is found in how you manage and assign these energy resources. At the start of each turn, you receive a spread of energy units, which you can then strategically place into energy slots on your ship's units. This means there's a lot of decision making here, and that process is critical as the damage dealt in battle is calculated by comparing the enemy energy output to those of yourself. Essentially what this means is that your weapon gets ultimately assigned a number, the enemy ship gets assigned a number based on how it's allocated its energy points, energy distribution, and the side with the highest number is the one that deals the damage to the opponent. Added in a few layers of complexity is the ability to move your ship, as well as multiple weapons and other special units and utilities that you can actually have added to your ship. That pretty much gets you grounded in the absolute basics of what Lonestar is all about, and as an overview of the game itself, at the beginning of a run, the players choose between 2 distinct ships, each offering a unique playstyle and appearance. One ship features a shield mechanism, while the other allows weapons swapping during combat. Now, as you progress through runs, you earn rewards that let you unlock new pilots, ships, units, and treasures. And there are 85 different units available, categorized by common, rare, and legendary qualities. In addition, the game includes over 140 treasures that can enhance your ship's capabilities. As for the battles, Lonestar's battles consist of 12 encounters segmented into 3 levels, with boss battles occurring at the 4th, 8th and 12th encounters. As you might expect, difficulty progresses throughout each of these incrementally, or sometimes perhaps quite suddenly. So yeah, a deceptively simple looking game, but one that does have quite a bit of depth to it. If you're interested in this one, it's not too expensive, it's priced around about £10 on Steam, and it's just one of those games that you can jump in and out of and have quite a lot of fun with. So there we have it, 2 very different space games, Wildgate and Lonestar. Do check out the links in the video description. If you want to watch another video, there's one on the screen right here. But thanks for watching this one. Take care, and I'll catch you next time. See you soon.